Good afternoon. I want to give you a quick rundown of a couple of kayaks that my wife and I have picked up recently. Get turned around to show you. We got a Perception Striker 11.5 and a Lifetime Yukon 116. Both of them are 11.5 feet long. The Perception is 33 inches wide and the Lifetime is 32 inches wide. The Perception has a 500-pound weight capacity and the Lifetime has a 350-pound weight capacity. If I back up a little bit, you can see the difference in the size of the boats. The Perception is much bulkier and a taller boat. It's where all of its additional capacity comes from. Both of these boats are exactly the way they were when we brought them home. The Perception we bought used and the Lifetime we bought new. And I'll run over some features on each of them. Starting at the bow of the Perception, you have a toggle handle and a bungee on top to strap down cargo or equipment. You have an 8-inch hatch, gives you access into a fairly good sized storage area inside the boat there. It came with a Scotty mount, and I'll probably eventually be replacing that Scotty mount with a Railblazer. All of my other attachments that I already have for my kayak are Railblazer. It has a stand-up assist strap. Now the little Pelican box that's in it, we didn't add it. It was added on by the previous owner. Then it has a smaller hatch right in front of the seat that gives you inside access, but there's not a lot of room to get stuff in and out there. It has molded in footrests and a dual position seat. Now this is a high position here and a low position here, and then the tank well. Now you can see that the bungee on the tank well has been removed, and I'll probably eventually be replacing it as well. Overall, I think the boat is pretty sound. It's a good looking boat. It looks like a very stable boat by all accounts that I've seen on the internet and all. It's a very stable boat. It comes with an anchor trolley already installed. Now this one is, somebody has done some work to it, and we'll eventually be replacing this too. This thing is ridiculously tight, so we'll replace it and replace the ring that goes on it there. And the kayak was bought new. They came without a seat on them. I have no idea why they would sell it without a seat or without any of the other attachments or features that most kayaks have, but would sell it with a anchor trolley already installed. I forgot to mention back here in the tank well, it has a mold in for a 5-gallon bucket here, and it has 4 molded in rod holders. Now the rod holders, I measured them the other day. They're only about 5 inches deep, and I think it's highly likely that if you go under a limb or something on the river, that there's a good chance you would drag a rod out. So I'll be addressing that when I get to work on this also. Now one thing, or a couple of things I guess, that I don't like about the Perception kayak is, for one thing, the cockpit area is just really small, and I realize that some of the cockpit area was made even smaller by the addition of that Pelican box there, but the Pelican box doesn't take up that much space. This is just a really small confined area in the front here. And I think on the side of this thing, this boat is a tank. I mean, it's just massive compared to to a comparable sized kayak. And I think that Perception missed out by not including access into this area for storage. This is a huge area inside of here that would be great to store a lot of gear and a lot of equipment with, and there's just no way to get into it. And we'll move over to the Lifetime. And you see the Lifetime has 4 handles. It's got a front and a back handle and side handles. And I forgot to mention on the Perception, step back around here, it has molded in side handles. It's got the toggles forward and aft and molded handles on the sides. Okay, so the hatch on the Lifetime opens up and actually gives you access to a fair amount of storage space inside there. The hatch seems to be fairly well made. It looks like it would be at least water resistant. It has a stand-up assist strap like the Perception does. And I thought this was a neat feature. It has a built-in camera mount for a GoPro or action camera, whatever you want to put on there. You can put it on so that it's actually facing back towards the cockpit if you want to video yourself catching a fish or take pictures of a fish, whatever. We've got adjustable footrests. They're adjusted by pulling back on the gray part. You don't have to get up out of your seat to actually pull this back. You can pull it back from the seat, and then a release here to move it back forward again. It's got gear tracks, a 12-inch gear track, one on each side, right here. And something that I thought was kind of neat was a molded in ruler right in front of you, right at your feet. It's handy, goes from 0 to 28 inches. The seat, I didn't bring the seat down with me when I came out to shoot the video, but the seat is a 2-position seat. The back of it locks in here, the front locks in here, and it just snaps down into place and pretty much holds itself in. It does have a couple of bungees to keep the seat back from flopping forward when you stand up. The bungees are attached onto the rod holders. If you don't use those, then you could clip rod leashes there or whatever. At the low position, the back of the seat sits down lower than the front of it, and they call it the reclining position. I personally wouldn't see me using that very much. It has horizontal rod storage up forward. You lay your rod butt up here, the rod tip comes back through this little groove right here and is held down by these bungees. And then immediately after that, on the sides of where the seat goes, there's room for a little tackle box to store in behind these bungees. It has a paddle park on each side, and it has a molded in place for additional gear tracks if you want to add them. Now, one thing that I've noticed about the flush mount rod holders, they're 30-degree rod holders just like most of them are, but rather than angling back or straight up, they're actually angled out. So if you're kayaking in a small creek or a small river, your rods are going to be sticking out to the side, and I just personally don't see much use for that. Got a large tank well in the back. Also has a place molded in for your 5-gallon bucket if you want to use one, or you can put a crate there. It has a bungee net that you can use to tie the gear down. All in all, I think it's going to be a good little boat. We bought it. Actually, we bought both of them to use as spares. My wife is going to be using this one until she decides on which boat she wants to be hers. Let's see if I can get these turned over and show you the undersides of them. Now, on the underside of the Perception, you can see that it's a tri-hull. This is where all the stability and all the weight capacity comes from. You have these two huge pontoons on the outboard, and then in the center line you have another hull. It seems to have a fairly well-defined keel forward and back aft. Although one of the complaints that I've read online about the boat was the tracking, but it seems like it might track okay. We usually paddle in rivers, and tracking is not a big issue there anyway. Let's turn the Lifetime over, and you can see that it's also a tri-hull design, although the center hull is much shallower than than the one on the Perception. This is almost more like a tunnel hole, almost like my Catch 120 Pelican. It has a skeg on the back of it with a roller wheel in it. It'd be helpful for pulling the kayak from the truck down to the water or back. Although I'll probably make a cart, a trolley, to wheel this thing on, you know, with a load on it. So these are our two new kayaks. We'll be doing, in coming weeks, we'll be doing a lot of changes to them, a lot of modifications, a lot of upgrades, and just changing some things around on them. As I do each boat, I'll do another video outlining what we did and how we did it. And if you have any questions, you can ask me about them and I'll explain it or do another video to explain it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.